Hi, I'm Michael David with MysteryIslands.net. I do documentary films on ancient mysteries, and today is a little bit casual. I'm going to talk about some information. We're going to start with Sumeria. In the mid-1800s, the Library of Nineveh was uncovered. It's important for the serious student of ancient aliens to know about Nineveh because about 30,000 clay tablets, they're about this big, were uncovered, neatly filed in a library, and they told us a lot about the oldest society we have written documents about, which is Sumeria, which today is called Iraq, and their daily life. And they had a complex, sophisticated society that appeared suddenly out of nowhere. Before that, all we have are hunter-gatherer, small tools, and nomadic tribes. They had giant pyramids. It's not like we found smaller pyramids leading up to that. They just appeared. So I think it was an outside third party that came in and helped Sumerians. They invented writing all of a sudden. They had the first printing press. They had schools for children with a lot of rules and regulations. They had a whole system of libraries. They had pharmaceuticals and some recipes they left behind. They had a government and a Congress. They had a complex math system that was based on 60 that we still use today, as in 60 seconds to a minute. And they divided a circle into 360 degrees, which is kind of a strange number, but a lot of people think that refers to Nibiru and the 3,600 year orbit. They had ovens with bricks, and they were building out of bricks, which was very sophisticated compared to the hunter-gatherer nomads before them. Once again appeared all of a sudden. They believed in 6 days of labor and a 7th day of rest, which is something we still do today, and I actually feel is spiritually important to take out that 7th day to recharge your batteries, go to church or some kind of spiritual activity. They built the ziggurats. They had gold and silver. They were doing molding with copper and smelting copper and tin together, which was a complicated formula to create bronze. Not likely that they would randomly discover that. At some point, the Anunnaki and humans went to Peru. I believe they ran out of gold and silver and they wanted tin, which was in South America in the very high mountains. So I think that's what drove them there. And sure enough, if you go to South America, there are ancient ruins around a lake called Lake Titicaca in Peru, and they're very complex and sophisticated. I think that's where they went, and their remnants are left behind. There's a biblical story about Cain and Abel, that Cain killed Abel, and he was punished. He was banished to the west, to these high mountains. Many believe that Cain was one of the first to go of humans over there. It's interesting because he was given a mark of Cain, which many believe is, instead of having beards like the Anunnaki, he had no facial hair. And that was his mark, making him different, as the Indians have no facial hair. And one other really weird thing I have to mention is if you change the letters in Cain, it spells out Inca, I-N-C-A. Something for you to think about late at night. They created a coin called a shekel, which is a silver coin, the first money system. Agriculturally, they all of a sudden had dams and dikes, very complex, very sophisticated. And the slaves were preparing foods for the gods and delivering it to their pyramids. And they had the first medical doctors and alcohol solvents. They were shipbuilders. They left behind a lot of plans to build over 100 types of ships. This is all in the Sumerian clay tablets. And Zachariah Sitchin, of course, is foremost researcher if you want to read his books about this. So they had advanced technology, but they had the same emotional problems that human beings had. They had all kinds of drama. They had divorce. They had affairs. They were stabbing each other in the back. It was a big soap opera. Don't think that the Anunnaki were advanced emotionally. They were the same as people, had the same problems. But they had technology that was advanced. They believed in a supreme universal God, and they were more like the demigods or the intermediaries. They were not to be worshipped, I hope, as a universal God. So that's kind of a take on daily life in Sumeria. And remember, that's about 4000 BC. Okay? I want to talk a little bit about the Greek gods. When you think about what the Greeks left behind, which is around 1000 BC, they were writing about a group of 6 female and 6 male gods who ruled from up above Mount Olympus. And similar to the male and female Sumerian gods, the Sumerian god Anu would be similar to the Greek gods Zeus. And there are some correlations here. There was another group that came before them called the Titans. Not a lot of people remember the Titans. The most famous one was Atlas. But Zeus and the Greek gods defeated and killed off the Titans and banished them to this underworld called Tartarus, and they ruled over Greek society. So I believe the Greeks created a mythology around stories they had heard about the Sumerian Anunnaki. And I believe they were passing it down through mythology and tradition. And there's a lot of correlation there if you read the stories about these demigods who had superior powers flying around in the sky, acting and interacting with humans that were embellished into mythological tales. And I also want to touch on Gnosticism. I'm learning a lot about the early Christians who were, some of them were Gnostics, and they had an interesting belief system. They believed in a kind of a distant, universal God who created these aeons or these intermediary gods. One of them was Sophia, and she gave birth to the demiurge, who was imperfect, who created this world. And he had a network of archons, or kind of evil spirits, who are keeping everything in the grid, keeping humans prisoners, basically. It's an interesting belief system. Apparently this overall universal God saw the problem. He sent down Jesus Christ. That was his spirit that came to liberate us. And that's what the Gnostics believe. Obviously the Roman Catholic Church had a problem with this scenario, and they were banishing and killing off the Gnostics, and one of the groups was the Cathars, who later was being destroyed and killed and burned at the stake, and that was the Crusades, as they all got stamped out. A lot of their knowledge would have been lost in history, except in 1945 there were some documents found in a cave called the Nag Hammadi, and we were able to read all of what the Gnostics believe. I'm not sure what piece of the puzzle the Gnostics have, but I feel that they are a part of this hidden information. We all need to study them, study Sophias, the demiurge, the archons, find out what part of that is truth and how it fits into the puzzle. Thanks for joining me today. You can see my work at mysteryislands.net. That will lead you to my YouTube channel, Ancient Mysteries Documentary Film. Please support my work. Thanks a lot.